Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Faces of NextGen Live. I'm Eric Wells, and I am super excited to be talking today with Deborah Sweeney. Let's see if I can get you unmuted here. Oh no, can you hear us? Oh, shoot, you're muted. Maybe you need to unmute on your end. There we go. You're on.
Yay!
Yay! I'm sorry about that. That was my fault.
That's okay.
Well, how are you doing today?
Good. We got some nice weather here in Northern California. The heat started to go away.
Yeah, it's kind of miserable out here. We've been having scattered showers throughout. I think this was like Harvey kind of pushing its way north on us. I'm in the middle of the country in Missouri, and not too far at all from Houston, Texas area.
Yeah, that big state down south somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a little bit of a brain fart. Well, anyways, I am super excited to have you on today, and we've got a lot to talk about. I've got several questions that I've sort of gave to you, and you're all ready to answer. Isn't that right?
Yeah, sure.
So to begin with, you are located up in Northern California, like near Sacramento.
Yep.
And how long have you been doing genealogy?
Well, I kind of done it in phases. So, there was the childhood genealogy where I kind of, loved reading the stuff that my grandmothers had put together. And then it wasn't really until I got in my 20s that I really started to want to take over what they had done, and then went from there. So not to age myself, but it's been over a couple of decades.
So you're in, so what decade age group would you be in?
I am still in my 40s.
Okay. I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed 30s.
Aw, thanks.
And one of the things that you're doing up in the Sacramento area is that you actually have started up a DNA study group, right?
Yeah. It's about 4 or 5 months now, and we meet monthly. And anyone in the area, you are welcome to come and join us.
Where do you guys meet?
The Sacramento Public Library System's rather large, so we're down in Elk Grove at the Franklin branch. There's 2 branches in Elk Grove, so we're at the Franklin branch.
Okay, got it. And so it's been going on for a few months. Are you getting some interest, or are people starting to show
I've got a good core of people that have been coming every week, and I would love to get more people. We have a couple of people that have come and gone through, but then there's my core that are there every single week. So I'd love to get some younger people to come and join us too.
Yeah, well, I hope they do. Hope somebody sees this and like, oh, I got to go to the Elk Grove and get some DNA working.
Exactly. But the group that I have, they're all pretty young at heart, and they want to know how to do this. And a lot of them have adoption trying to solve and figure out how to use the DNA mysteries. So, I mean, even though they're all retirees, they're pretty young at heart too. So,
got it.
It's exciting to work with them.
Got it. Now, you've been doing. Go ahead. What's that?
I just coughed.
Oh, so you've been doing genealogy for a few years now, like a couple decades.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you've researched your tree really, really well. Who is like the ancestor you would really want to meet?
Oh, I should have known it because you've always asked this question. No, there are brick wall ancestors that I would love to sit down and, you know, pick their brains and solve that. But, you know, I'd love to be able to sit down with my grandmother again. Her mother, because I never met her mother because she died in the 40s. But,
Yeah.
you know, just having the ability to ask those questions now that I didn't think about, you know, 10 years ago. And plus my grandmother had dementia in the end. So she really wasn't helpful as someone to ask questions for. So yeah, I'd love to have my grandma back.
You know, I think that as genealogists, if we actually got a hold of a time machine, that we would really we would use it pretty inappropriately, just saving records and finding records, and I don't know, we wouldn't really go back and do some awesome things. We would just save records and ask our ancestors questions.
See, when you start genealogy, you should be issued your own TARDIS. So.
And you could actually store all the stuff inside your TARDIS without having to worry about space. Deborah Dudek also agrees with you.
Yes. Yes, Deborah, TARDIS.
And Sherry Fenley is on here, and she says that you're going to be presenting soon at the San Joaquin Genealogy Society.
Yeah, I'd have to check my calendar.
October 19th.
Really?
Yes, that's what she added on here.
Okay, I'll have to check my calendar again.
So as you've been doing your research, what was the most interesting or surprising discovery that you've run across?
You know, I think one of my favorite ones is, he's not a direct ancestor. It's my so two-time great-grandmother, her younger brother. It was a Swiss family, big family, 2 wives, 2 sisters. So after the first sister died, the husband married the younger sister, and all the men either became doctors or lawyers. And so little brother William, he started off as a lawyer, but he made a really bad marriage. And as a result of the marriage, his wife kind of went insane. And so she was locked up in a state mental institution in Indiana. And he tried to divorce her 3 times, but the state wouldn't let him because having an insane wife was not cause for divorce at that time.
Oh, wow.
And so the kicker is, because he was going bankrupt trying to pay for all her medical care, he became a counterfeiter.
Really?
Yeah. And because he was Swiss, so they were always good with like clocks and, you know, fine tools. He made all his the dies for the coins. That was, yeah.
Wow. So what time period were we talking about?
It was like 1906, I think, when the trial was. And
There was a trial?
Yeah, he actually ended up in Leavenworth. So I have his prison file.
When was he in Leavenworth?
From between like 1906 to 1910.
I've got an ancestor who was in there from 1922 to 24.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have met.
Yeah, but like his file that I got from NARA had his mugshots.
Yes.
The before and the after. So, you know, the before is this really dapper guy in a bowler hat and the 3-piece suit, and then, you know, prison garb with the shaved head.
I only got the after picture, and you know, that was the first photograph I saw of him, of my great grandfather, was his mugshot.
Nice.
Yeah, but he didn't do any counterfeiting. That's awesome. He was striking coins, was it like $20 coins or something?
No, he was actually, and it took a while to catch him because he was using low currency coins, and they were distributing them very craftily in Indianapolis, so it took a really long time for them to hunt him down. But the guy was a genius. He also, 10 years before, he patented one of the early typewriters.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, and he sold the patent and he got a lot of money for that, but it all went to his wife's healthcare.
Oh, wow.
So he got like $50,000 for his patent and, lost it all.
$50,000 at the turn of the century.
Yeah.
Am I hearing that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what the denominations of the coins he was minting? Were they like?
I almost want to say they were like 50-cent piece or like, like dollar coin. If you really want to know, I did like a whole series on my blog, and his name was William B. Schwartz. And if you go to one of the tabs on the top of my blog, you can find all the articles that I basically posted everything that I ever found on him, from newspapers to like the Nara prison documents. It's all there.
I love it. Like, give me your blog and I'll type it into the comments here.
It is genealogylady.net. And I think, I'm trying to remember which tab it would be under. I think if you click on the ancestors tab.
Genealogylady.net. And that's, we also have that on all of the links in all of the descriptions on Facebook and on here on the video too.
Excellent.
Yes. So that's actually really interesting. I have not run into a counterfeit ancestor. Ancestor who did counterfeiting. That's so cool. I kind of admire that, to be honest with you.
Exactly. And because he was a lawyer, there was one day that I think a woman was suing for divorce, and her exchanged I can't even say the word, estranged husband, like, burst into the lawyer's office and shot some people in the office. So this guy was like a magnet for like all these newsworthy things.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did he defend himself in the trial?
You know what? I found very minimal. I had to go to the Indiana State Archives, and they had very minimal information. I think he basically pled like guilty. So there really wasn't a trial. So there's like 2 papers that, he's been found guilty and he's being sent to Leavenworth. And
got it.
When he was sitting in the jail in Indianapolis, there's also, he seems to have caused a riot.
What?
About the jail conditions being abysmal. So this guy is like complete. If I wanted to meet someone, he would probably be someone that I'd want to meet too.
This sounds like a really interesting guy. Right up my alley.
And in the 1890s, he was in a knife fight brawl in the street. So it just keeps coming.
He actually sounds like a pretty darn a smart guy, and also a guy you wouldn't want to mess with.
Exactly. So
yeah,
I feel bad for him because he was dealt some bad cards, but I think he, kind of walked with the punches too and gave a lot back.
Yeah. And it's kind of he just found a way to make it happen from the sounds of it. It wasn't necessarily legal, but he find a way to make ends meet.
Yeah.
So along that sort of lines, do you have any like favorite books that you would want to recommend, genealogy related or otherwise?
You know what? I just finished reading by William Zinsser. He's kind of after Strunk and White, the writing people. He kind of came along and he wrote a book on writing nonfiction, on how to write nonfiction well.
Okay.
So not really strictly genealogy related, but I just finished reading it this late summer, fall. So it's kind of inspirational for me with all our genealogy writing, we want to make our ancestors more approachable. instead of like marriage, death, they bought some land,
Right.
let's get a little more interesting.
Right. What's the name of the book?
On Writing Well.
On Writing Well.
On Writing Well.
By Zinzer, you said?
Yeah, William Zinzer.
Zinzer. All right. Who's these?
And I would recommend finding the 30th anniversary edition because it has a chapter on writing family history. And it's not in the original version.
Cool. I got it down in the comments now. And not only do you have recommend that favorite book, but you have actually written a few books of your own.
Yeah, here they are.
You happen to have them right next to you.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about the books that you've written.
Okay, so when I started my blog, I had inherited over 1,000 letters that my grandparents wrote during World War II. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know what 1,000 letters looks like, but it's a really big box.
Is it this big?
No, no, box.
Oh, it's a box.
Box. And, I had them for a good 10, 15 years before I did anything with them. But, I made my dad give them to me because, I'm the genealogist. I'm the family archivist. I wanted to read the letters so I could find out, more information or insight on my grandparents. And when I finally got to the point where I was opening them up and transcribing them, I started putting them on my blog. And then people were like, oh, you should put these in a book. And so I've done 2 volumes of the letters, and I'm kind of taking a break right now from it because I have other projects that I want to work on, but eventually there'll be a couple more volumes too. But volume 1 was Dear Mother, Love Daddy, and it's kind of the first 6 months of the war.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and then
letters kind of go from the beginning of the war to the end.
The 1,000+ letters go from the beginning of the war to the end because my grandfather signed up right in 42. He after Pearl Harbor was bombed, he and his brother-in-law basically, went down to the recruiter's office and signed up. But because my grandfather was a doctor, that's automatic officer class. So it took a little longer for him to actually get in the service. So May of 42 was when they finally told him to show up.
And so he was a doctor through the...
Yeah.
So he got to see some pretty awful things.
Yeah, but he doesn't write about that in his letters because he wasn't allowed to. Because being an officer, he had to set the example. So his letters were never censored because, it was, officers kind of, on their word that they wouldn't write anything sensitive. So there really isn't anything, concrete in the letters, but there's a lot of other social history elements in the letters. There's also, you can just tell his sense of boredom of being where he is at some points, because he knows he can't write anything, but yeah.
So there was like almost a lot going on, but was it frustration more than boredom, or was it just kind of boredom with what he was working on?
It wasn't necessarily boredom with where he was. It was more like frustration that I can't talk about anything that I'm doing. And, I'm, thousands of miles away. And at the very beginning of the war, my dad was born. So my grandma was home alone with 2 older children and my dad as an infant. And, my grandfather, the doctor, couldn't be there to help take care of the baby. And, that's frustrating for anyone.
So that's 2 of the books you've written. And
yes.
You had a third one?
I did have a third one. This one is more, this is a very family specific book. It was a proof argument that I wrote for ProGen, one of the assignments. And so I just kind of expanded it and put it in a book. And it's good cousin bait. So I've
So you've got not
well,
only a blog as Cousin Bait, but you also have a bona fide published book.
exactly.
That's awesome. I love it.
And of course, at this point, I would probably rewrite it because I didn't stop researching, once I published the book. And of course, I found more documents that help prove the point that I was trying to make. But
yeah,
it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have a 30th anniversary too.
Exactly.
When you do your research, where do you like to do it? What's one of your ideal places?
At home.
Okay.
Because I'm lazy, but and I do like researching at home, but I'm very fortunate that I am in the state capital of California. So we have lots of places that people can do research. We have 2 family history centers, as well as the public library with their Sacramento room. There's the state library and the state archives are all within, like 5 blocks of each other downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But
wow.
I don't have a lot of California ancestors, so I've got all these great resources, but they're kind of going to waste because.
Well, I do, so I may need to hire some of your services to look up.
Let me know, because I don't really take clients just because.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more a barter system. Like I'll look up something for you if you'll look up something for me in your area.
That's fair enough. Do you have Missouri? Do you have Missouri folk?
I actually have some folks that have gone through like the St. Louis area, and so I could probably find something for you that I need.
There we go. Fair enough. Now, when you and I met, we kind of met actually this summer at the Southern California Jamboree, Genealogy Jamboree, and you.
But I'd heard about you.
You had.
Because you were the guy that drove miles to get to the NextGen at a conference.
That is true. Yes, that's rather a funny story. As a brand new.
Tell it again.
Yeah. No. Okay. As a brand new genealogist or a guy who just totally fell in love with it, and I wanted to look for or find younger genealogists out there, I stumbled across the NextGen website. And this was like 4 years ago. And they were holding NGS in St. Charles, just outside of St. Louis. And I had no idea what NGS was, but I did see that the NextGen Genealogy Network had a meetup out there. And so I'm like, I need to drive up there. And it was like on a Thursday night. And so it's about 3.5 hours for me. And I was like, I'll just drive up there. And so I pull into this convention center. I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of cars here. And at a certain time, just about the time the meetup, like about a half hour before the meetup was happening, the doors opened to this convention center, and just all of these gray hairs and blue hairs just spill out of the convention center. I'm like, am I in the right place? There's so many older people here. And so I was pretty nervous, but I walked in there and got to meet some incredible people. Were you there, Deborah?
Oh gosh, no.
Okay. Okay. But I was pretty darn nervous, but yeah, I didn't realize it was that much of a story.
Actually, it was Melanie.
Oh, Melanie told you.
She told me the story at Jamboree, I think the following year, or like a couple months later.
Oh, it's so silly. But anyways, you and I met at the Jamboree this year, and you were giving a fantastic talk that I really enjoyed. And it's kind of one of your passions, if I'm not mistaken.
It was actually my first career. So,
well, tell us about it.
I started off as a theater costumer. So I've been to graduate school. I've worked professionally in theater for about 10 years. So I've worked in theaters from the Goodspeed Opera House, the Opera Theater of St. Louis. I was actually there for a couple of summers.
Oh, wow.
And then like the Old Globe Theater down in San Diego. And then I got up to Sacramento, and I worked for the Sacramento Theater Company and Music Circus And I've done a couple of things for like the Lake Tahoe Shakespeare Festival and a couple of theaters that were a little further north of here.
Yeah.
I've always loved clothing. So when I started doing genealogy and I took the BU course, the Boston University Certificate Program, one of the modules, they have you start looking at photographs. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. I know how to do this because I've been looking at photographic research for years already at this point. So I still really enjoy looking at old photographs and just any research that has to do with clothing and clothing trends and the social history of clothing.
Yeah, you were showing us in your presentation. You were showing us different plates and different collections that had photographs of period clothes from different eras, and it was really a fascinating talk you gave.
Yay! I'm glad you liked it.
I did like it. I wanted a part 2, and
I think this is the presentation that I'm giving down at San Joaquin in October.
Okay, got it. October 19th.
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder.
At their Genealogy Society in Stockton.
Yes.
Yeah, Sherry made sure we knew that.
Thanks, Sherry.
And then, so what areas do you want to learn about in genealogy that you really don't have a whole lot of experience, or that you kind of want to grow in?
My biggest personal brick wall for I haven't figured out how to get beyond it yet. My ancestry in this country is really old and deep. So I have very few lines that were recent immigrants. So I have very little experience with European ancestry, because you have to go back to the 1600s, and there's plenty of things for me to do here researching back to the 1600s. So most of those German or Irish lines that were somewhat recent, I've kind of put on the back burner because I don't know how to do it yet.
I've done a little bit of that. What's that?
I'm hoping someday.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that, and just looked through some parish records or church records, and that was a lot of fun. I had to have this little cheat sheet of words, and especially some Dutch. A quarter of my heritage is from the Netherlands, and so I had a little Dutch cheat sheet, and kind of looking at the sheet and kind of looking at the microfilm, and I learned quickly, and it was a lot of fun though.
Yeah, and right now I'm trying because I'm working on my portfolio for becoming board certified. There's a couple of states that I haven't done much research in, but I'm finding as I'm researching the family that I'm ending up in places that I wasn't quite familiar with. So I have a couple of states that I'm I really need to know how to do this better right now.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that you don't really take clients. What do you think about that? What's your thought behind that?
Well, I'm a teacher part-time, and I have 2 kids. So between and running around with the kids and trying to do my own research, and because I also lecture, that's where I'm concentrating my energies right now professionally as a genealogist. I don't have time for clients.
Got it.
And yeah. It's hard too, because with being a teacher, you have specific time, and so trying to advertise, oh yeah, I need clients, and then by the time a client comes along, I'm like, okay, I'm back to work. I can't take it now.
That makes sense. Yeah. Now, when you first started off, you kind of cut out there actually. So let me pick that back up. But you actually said that you're on the clock. You started to do your certification, genealogy certification.
Yes, I submitted my paperwork August 1st. So I'm 6 weeks in.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. So, yeah, it's kind of overwhelming now that like I'm on the clock, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have a deadline that I have to get these done by. But fortunately, it's really easy to extend the deadline.
You just have to write a check.
Yeah, exactly. Just send your money in, and yeah. If it gets to next summer and I'm still not feeling ready, then I'll just extend it for another year. But I'd love to get it done in a year, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the whole transition of microfilm from the family history library. This summer I tried to order a lot of film, knowing that I'm working on my portfolio, but you kind of reach a point where it's, they're in transition. They have things that aren't available on microfilm anymore and now are online, but you have to see it at a center. So it's been an interesting summer.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I was a little worried about them, what would happen when the microfilm stopped getting shipped, and it just seems like they're working out the bugs, and we've just got to deal with it in a sense. So it's not, and it won't be that long. I think that they're doing just fine. Yeah,
and I've got a stockpile at my family history center now. So.
That's not a bad idea. Exactly. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got Deborah and Leanne are just saying congratulations to you over here in the comments.
Thanks.
I think
another year.
I think I butchered Leanne's name. It's Leanne Jensen.
Oh, Leanne. Yeah, she's one of my ProGen group.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Hi, Leanne.
Now, when you first started off doing genealogy, what if you could go back in time? If you could really misuse a TARDIS or a time machine,
yes,
what would you want to know when you first started off?
Well, like there's all those standard answers about cite your sources. I guess it goes back to asking the questions of the people that aren't here anymore, or I wish DNA had been around when my grandparents were still alive. And, I kind of missed it by like 10 years, and I could have gotten one set of my grandparents. But yeah.
Were your grandparents alive when DNA started to hit the market?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah.
All right.
Although I think the Y DNA was probably just becoming available when my last grandfather was alive, and he lived to 100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and his dad lived to 102. So
wow.
Yeah. But he died in 2009. So yeah, the Y would have been available, I think, at that point, but the autosomal wasn't.
Got it. So we talked a little bit about conventions, and so we know that you attend them. Will the San Joaquin Genealogy be the next one, Genealogy Society be the next one that you'll be at?
I think so. I'm speaking at one of the Bay Area ones. I'm always going to mess it up. I think it's Solano County. That's November. I'm speaking at the Sacramento Public Library in their lecture series in December. I'm also speaking at a local group, but that's more of a closed thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess San Joaquin is next.
All right. Very cool. And we mentioned your blog, and you're on Twitter too. I've got the links there, but you want to say it here in the video where how to find you on Twitter and Facebook?
Let's see. Twitter, my handle is Genealogy Lady CA for California. Because somebody went in, even though I've been using Genealogy Lady for years, somebody like scooped up Genealogy Lady. So I've had to put the CA on the end of a lot of my handles just so I can have the handle.
Are you following her or him or
no, her? It's like there's nothing there. Like if you go to like genealogylady.com, there's like a blank,
oh my gosh,
space saver type thing. So I don't know who the person is, but
well, you could probably have that URL for like $10,000. It's such a deal.
Yeah, whatever. You have $10,000 you can give me?
Yeah, no. Like there's these people who like just go and buy up groups of URL names, and then hopefully they'll get lucky enough where someone will want it bad enough to pay a ton of money for it.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah.
All right,
And,
so on Twitter, I'm genealogylady.ca. I think that's the same for Pinterest. And on Pinterest, I have a lot of boards with different clothing decades.
Oh, how cool.
But I have, yeah, so you can look, like 1860s, and then I'll have like a board of a bunch of actual garments that are found in like the Met Museum or other collections. Yeah.
That's cool.
And sometimes when you just want to look.
And then they can find you at genealogylady.net online.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's about it. Do you have anything you want to say before we take off? Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right.
We covered a lot.
I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah. And all your books, they're also on your blog, right?
They're on my blog, and you don't buy them from my blog, but they're links to Amazon.
Got it.
So you can buy them directly from Amazon, or you can write to me directly, and I can send you an autographed copy.
What?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you do Amazon Prime? Like, will it be here in 2 days?
Yeah. I think it has to do with. I think it has to do with you versus me.
Awesome. Well, Deborah, again, I want to thank you very much for taking some time and talking with me and getting to know you a little bit. Was this kind of painless, or was it really painful?
Oh my gosh, I'm dying. No, no, this is fun.
All right. Well, that's all for now. And the next episode will be on October 9th, and I'm really excited to talk to our next guest. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet because I never do, but watch for on Facebook, on Twitter, and here on YouTube. Watch for the upcoming episode. Yeah, that's about it. Deborah, thanks again. And I'm Eric Wells for NextGen Genealogy Network and my company Legacy Left Right. Everybody have a great rest of your evening, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. Good night.
Good night.